Hey folks, welcome back to the channel, or just plain old welcome if you are new. Wow, I think we all dodged a bullet. I just tried to do a video to document going through these 100 eagles and pulling out the dark ones, the ones with some, there's in various stages of milk spotting and toning, tarnishing, patina, however you want to call it. These are what I called Lucy's. I picked them up either by the half tube, the whole tube. Probably not these in particular. These were probably the ones I got, out of the showcase, or in a lot of cases the bargain box, or plastic ice cream tub, where you could go through and had more than just eagles in there. And do I wish I'd have picked up some of those, what were probably desirable vintage rounds, desirable in 2024, especially those 1 ounce bars with all different kinds of themes, Christmas, Halloween, 4th of July, Independence, whatever. No, I don't use my rearview mirror except driving. That would just be torture. I'm sure I just passed over all kinds. And I've sold some stuff that I regret. A 10 ounce, probably a very vintage Engelhard bar, just because it was ugly to me and I was on an eagle quest. So instead of, I was going to try to find one from each year, but I said, how the heck with that? I've still got my proofs, and I've got 86 through 14 of those, so that satisfies the gotta have one of each year collectible person thing fetish. So this was just, so why eagles? And why not eagles? Well, in 2024, why not? Because they're super expensive. You can compare it to a generic, what they would call a generic buffalo, which doesn't look all that generic to me. They're really beautiful. You got to pay sometimes anywhere from $5 to $8, maybe, I don't know, a lot more than if you were, compared to buy an eagle. And why did I pick eagle? Well, the guy that introduced me to stacking, and he'd been trying to talk me into it for at least a year or so, maybe a couple years here and there, in between hunting and things like that. And eventually he got me into it. And I think his ulterior motive was because he wanted to sell some of his collection to me, and that's fine. My first precious metal that I bought after I decided to become a stacker was, and I didn't buy it, I traded for it, was a, I don't know what year it was, but it was a pre-33 double eagle, big hunk of gold. And oh my gosh, and I think the gold was, $300 or $400 an ounce back then. So eagles were on my mind, and then when I started going to a coin shop or two that I could find close to where, when I say close, they were all at least a half-hour drive away to my house. Eagles, they always seemed to have them, and sometimes they didn't have enough, or maybe they could only sell a tube that day. All they had was a complete tube, and I either wasn't prepared for that money-wise or didn't want to, so occasionally I would buy some non-eagle stuff. But usually I was pretty successful at walking away with what was in my pocket, cash-wise, in the equivalent of eagles. So there's all different kinds of years in here because I collect them at all different kind of times. So from 98 until 2014, and there was a gap there, like I'd say 2010 through 2012, I had to slow up because of other priorities, obligations, and investments. My wife retired, and income situation changed a little bit. So I did notice that these 87s and 88s always seem to be a little shinier. Now, is that a milk spot haze on there? I don't know, and I don't care. Because my philosophy back then was get it for as cheap as I could on the day that I had the money to spend on a scheduled budget, and I would just go out and spend that money. And then, after a couple years, I noticed, wow, I was taking home a little bit less silver, or spending a little bit more for less, and then eventually way less. And so, but that's just the way it was. I didn't really pay attention to it. I was on a mission. And I'd already completed my major goal by getting a couple monster boxes, but those things have never been opened. As far as I know, they still got the original bands on it. Now there's an 86 that is in, looks like it's in pretty good shape. Now would Vermilion Enterprises call this retail friendly? I think so. I don't think he would reject this as a off quality kind. But I don't care. Not planning on selling it to a coin shop ever, except my original goal was to stack until the age of 70, which for me is going to be 2029. And then, if something hadn't gotten in the way, like a currency reset or a catastrophic event, whether political or environmental, SHTF type thing. Well, if I made it to 70 and nothing got in the way, well then I would bust it out and I guess see what it was worth and whatever that year's currency was. But then, about 3 or 4 months ago, probably 4 months now, I discovered you folks on YouTube, the stacking community. And man, I've learned a lot. I've learned that I made a lot of wrong decisions. Had I been watching the videos that I watched today, back then, I'm not even sure they had YouTube in '98. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I didn't even get a computer until 2000, I think, 1. Yeah, sometime 2001, 2002 is when I got my first desktop computer, I believe. I probably wouldn't have bought these things because maybe there were premiums back then. I don't think so, but I'm not positive. So would I have gotten all these eagles? I don't know. I don't know. Probably not. And would that have been a good thing that instead of an extra 500 eagles, which was my goal, was to fill a monster box up with Lucy's, just for the fun of it, and a little bit easier after I'd spent my a large windfall on my initial purchases, big purchases, bulk, silver and gold. And I would like to run on a 50-to-1, so if I had, for every 50 ounces of silver I had, I'd like to have 1 ounce of gold. Now, back then I had the fractional SHTF make change mindset, and so not a whole lot of 1 ounce gold coins, but lots of tenths and quarters and halves, probably mostly tenths and some bunch of quarters, but and a few ounces. But most of my 1 ounce gold eagles came in a set with either 2 other gold eagles. I forget what year that was. That might have been 2006, or in a box with a silver eagle of the same year, special mint marks and stuff like that. But what would have been nice, instead of having ended up after what turned out to be 25 years of trying to get these things, because I had an 8-year, I had about a 2-year hiatus from buying, actively buying, fervently buying, constantly seeking silver, desperately seeking silver, and then an 8-year delay when I had to move and had to reestablish all my new priorities: long-term food, survival gear, water purification, all that stuff. It takes time, especially when you move to a much higher cost of living environment. From Ohio, it's much easier to be comfortably poor in Ohio than it is anywhere in Hawaii. Now, there are some places in Ohio, like parts of Columbus, Ohio, very expensive. $5, $6, $7, $800,000 homes, over $1 million. But that wasn't my kind of living. I'm lived very modestly. Lived out in the boondocks, convenient to the freeway, convenient enough. Although if it was a bad winter, you might not be able to make it to the freeway very easily, even with 4-wheel drive. But those I-87s sure seem shinier than others. There's another one. You can almost pick them out without even seeing the model year. It's either going to be an 87 or an 88 or an 89. So I don't know what they did from after 86 to change these things. There's a 97, and it just doesn't seem to have the luster. See, can you tell the difference there between this one and that one? Just at a glance, that thing looks shinier. You can almost look over and see But they're all good-looking coins, even the ugly ones, the ones with good stuff. So this would be what Vermilion would not call retail friendly. So they're going to pay you less for this than they will for probably, I think this would probably pass their inspection on retail friendly. But how much less? $1 or $2? $3? That just doesn't, to me that's splitting hairs, especially if it's coordinated along with what my philosophy was. I was buying weight, anticipating weight, and then I guess kind of taking a chance. I wouldn't call it gambling, because in my mind I thought these things would always be worth something in life. And had I not been doing this, you know, I didn't stop drinking until '94. I would have spent a lot more money on drinking, or fines, or attorney fees. So yeah, I'm glad I saved you from that, because to do this on film, oh my gosh, my nerves are not built that way. To pull out all the imperfect ones from the retail friendly ones, no, I'm glad I did this. I'm glad I'm going to throw that last video that I just spent 11 minutes making. I'm going to throw that thing away, delete it. I think that's what it's called. Because this is too much. I'm glad I did this. Thank you. Thank you for letting me share with you this eye-opening moment where I'm totally convinced I do not care about the condition of anything. Now, does that mean in the future when I'm switching strategies to buying hopefully vintage rounds, but this, you know, I don't know what the possibilities of that are in person in Hawaii, possibly online, but I'm not a big online purchaser. I bought my last 80 Eagles, or 2024s. I got them from Costco via information I learned from you folks and Louie, using my fancy Costco card cashback and the credit card cashback, total of 4% off of their price. Unfortunately, in Hawaii, I had to pay a 4.712% sales tax. You just can't get away from that. Yeah, so I did it. I filled it. It took me 25 years. Granted, there was an 8-year break towards the end and about a 2-year break somewhere in the middle, but I did it, and I'm glad I did. And then I never thought of playing with this stuff before. Most of these were buried, but then I ran into you folks, and I'll bring some of this stuff out. There's no sense bringing out those monster boxes, and thank goodness, because these things in a monster box are heavy. I've already changed that strategy. I'm just using the monster box now for just like a green room, pardon the pun, for when I'm going to do videos. Put stuff in it and kind of position it, get it in the lineup for whatever the next video is going to be, because those things are heavy, and I'm old now, and I can't see conveniently lugging that thing out if I had to. So if I break it up into smaller weights, especially in ammo boxes with handles on them, yeah, that's just, to me, that makes more sense. So glad you got this far. Don't forget to buy what you can, when you can, while you can, at the best price you can, without neglecting other priorities, obligations, and investments. So until the next time, take care and watch your 6. All right, then.